but a lot of people just watching and standing around to see what unfolds in the case of Sean Diddy Combs. We know he's facing, I should say, sentencing today. And we know that he was convicted in July, did try to get out of jail and try to, wait this out on the outside. And the judge denied that. Joining us is Michael Babcock from TMZ to really talk about this. Michael, can you hear me? Are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Hi, thank you for having me.
So happy that you're here to sort all of this out. So first, let's start with this. What is going on inside of that courtroom? We're now approaching at least 2 o'clock Chicago time. This has been going on for a few hours. What's unfolding there right now?
Yeah, they just actually got back from a lunch not too long ago, about 20 or so minutes ago. But it's been jam-packed, wall-to-wall. People speaking, videos being shown to the courtroom, and it's been a hectic day. I think some people thought we'd go in this morning and the sentence would be read, but that's not going to be the situation, obviously. And we've got a little bit more time here before we ultimately hear what happens with Diddy. But the defense team, they just played a 12-minute video that was highly produced, that featured a lot of old clips of Diddy with his kids over the years, being a father, speaking at, to kids, speaking at graduations, things that really have painted Diddy in a positive light as somebody who is a net positive on society, and certainly not this dangerous, monster that the prosecutors have painted him out to be. So that's the message that Diddy trying to portray to the court. I think some people, and we've got an early look at this video, so we've actually showed it this morning, and some people, said that's a really bad idea. It's way too overly produced. It doesn't feel real. It feels like they are, kind of brushing aside some of the horrible things that he has been accused of here. So how does the judge interpret this video and some of the other things that are being said today about Diddy? Again, many, many positive things. The judge got 75 plus letters from people like his kids, his mom, ex-girlfriends, people that have known Diddy. So how does the judge react to all of these really positive things that are said about Diddy? And how does he then balance that with what the prosecutors have said, that this guy tormented women for 15 plus years? That's the question.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, some of the people that actually took to the witness stand wrote letters on his behalf in a positive way.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There was actually this a woman who was supposed to be one of the victims. The prosecutors were going to put her on the stand, victim number 3, and that never happened. And she actually then, like you said, she wrote a letter on behalf of Diddy, painting the prosecutors out to be really overzealous in that they wanted to nail Diddy, that they wanted to get this guy, and that they kept trying to convince victim 3 that she was a victim and that she had been abused by Diddy. And she said, look, that's just not how I perceived what happened. We were in a relationship, it might not have worked out, might not have been the best relationship, but I never felt like I was victimized by Diddy. So she said that. That's as much as what she said to the court. And I think that could be effective because, again, they wanted to put her on the stand. They were going to put her on the stand. And you've got that person here now saying, I wasn't a victim.
Let's talk about this. The judge has been unmoved by Diddy.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, he has twice rejected his bail and he's been in jail for a little more than a year, right? At this point, talk about the position of Diddy in the courtroom. I know you guys have an article up on TMZ.com right now showing an illustration of Diddy with, it appears like he's wiping his eyes with tissue.
Yeah, that's right. So that, and you notice he's not wearing the prison jumpsuit. He asked the judge if he could be in his civilian clothes. The judge said yes. Yeah, of course, that's something you can do. And I think that's important. Diddy doesn't want to be seen as an inmate in the courtroom. He wants to be seen as a person and a father, a family man. And so he's got the civilian clothing on. He was actually crying, and he had been pretty stoic, I would say, throughout the trial and throughout the proceedings today. But when they showed that 12-minute video with the kids and the old footage, that's when Diddy was literally had tears rolling down, streaming from his eyes. So I think that's a good point, though. The judge, I think, largely has been unmoved by much of the things that have been said about Diddy in a positive way. Not that he's been unfair to Diddy. I don't think he has been unfair, but he has not. I don't think he's given him any preferential treatment because of who he is, or he's this big celebrity. And in fact, earlier today, and I think this is probably the worst news for Diddy, the judge said that federal guidelines say I should give you somewhere between 60 and 78 months. That is obviously well more than the 14 months maximum that Diddy's side has asked for here. They essentially want time served for Diddy because, like you said, he's done 12 plus months already. They want him to be able to walk out of that courtroom a free man. It does not sound like that's going to happen.
No, it doesn't. I do want to point out the fact that Diddy could have been sentenced, or I should say he could have faced even more serious charges. When you look at this, a jury acquitted him of the more serious charges of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking. And that really could have put him away for life. I do want to point out the fact, Michael, when you look at the images of Diddy during all of this, we are used to seeing Sean P. Diddy Combs, completely black hair, faded, groomed to the high heavens. This illustration that you have on your website right now almost makes it look like a more senior individual than the Diddy that we're used to seeing. Do you think that is by design? What do you make of that? I mean, his hair is completely 100% white.
Yeah. Absolutely by design. But I mean, these attorneys that Diddy has obviously are really talented attorneys. They've got the best consultants in the world. And they, I think, and obviously haven't spoken to them about this, but I believe what they want to do is signal to the judge and to the jury that you've got a guy here who is, he's not 25 years old. You've got a guy who is, getting up there in age, and he's not out there being violent. He just wants to go be a family man, be a grandfather to the grandkids. And I think that's the message. And I think it was very strategic in them not having his hair dyed and not looking like he normally looks. That's not the image they want to portray to the judge and really the judge. The jury doesn't even matter. There's not even a jury seated. So it's all about the judge today. That's the message they want to send to him.
Michael, you've been at this for a long time, being in the entertainment industry. And, I've heard supporters of Diddy and people in the entertainment industry say some of what happened, not all, because some things you cannot, dumb down. You cannot dumb down that Cassie video. I don't care what you say, but you've heard some people say that these type of sexual encounters go on in Hollywood and you shouldn't be punished for it. Based on your experience and what you've seen, what changes the game with this case based on that statement?
No, I think that's a great point, and that might be the case. And I'm sure that there are some weird things that happen in Hollywood with celebrities. We obviously know that bad or good, and in this case bad, celebrities have a lot of power, and perhaps there are parties like this that happen. But the law is the law, and then these women, if you listen to their testimony during the trial, just the torment that they say they went through, and things that still affect them to this day. I don't know why they chose to go after Diddy as hard as they did, and it was an investigation. It was bi-coastal raids going on at the same time, different federal agencies involved. So it seemed like they really did make a concerted effort to get Diddy. I don't know why they've done that to him, and perhaps they haven't done that to other celebrities, but I think it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be fascinating to see when he does ultimately get out, because that day will come. How is he treated? How is he, I guess, welcomed by fans at that point? I remember O.J. Simpson walking out of prison and me saying to myself, "Oh, this guy's done. He'll never. Nobody will ever kind of care about him anymore." And then the guy was a star everywhere he went. So I think that'll be interesting to see. And is that next week or next month, or is it 5 or 10 years down the line? That we don't know.
Is something happening, Michael? I hear people talking behind you. It makes me think something's going on in the courtroom. Is there something happening in that courtroom?
I don't think so.
Okay. I want to ask you one final question, and I will let you go. I know it gets a little hype.
You're fine.
It gets a little
I'll
hype.
hang out with you all day.
Yeah, I know it gets a little hype in there, but sometimes you never know. It may be for an actual reason.
Right.
When it comes to all of the people outside of the courtroom, are those fans that are just hoping that they see Diddy come out of those doors?
I think so. Yeah, I do think so. It's hard to tell if they're supporters or are they against Diddy, but I would imagine that it's probably mostly supporters, and of course you've got some media there too. But I don't know if the expectation is that he walks out of that courtroom today. I mean, I feel pretty confident saying that that's not going to happen.
I don't think so either.
I think, the prosecutors want 11 years and change. I don't think you're going to get that, but I think you're probably going to get somewhere in between 5-6 years, something to that effect.
Talk about Diddy's legacy and time served, whether it's 2 years, 3 years, 6 years. What does that legacy look like? And really for his children too, who have his daughters who clearly want to be models. They've kind of come into their own with the social media influencing kind of what his legacy will look like. He's still trying to sell one of his homes, I believe, for a lot of money. What happens next, do you think, after this?
Yeah, it's a really complicated legacy, and he's obviously a complicated man because, I mean, you want to talk about somebody who has had sustained success for decades in the music industry. I mean, how many big acts have we seen come and go, flash in the pan, and that's it? I mean, for Diddy to be as successful as he was, not just as an entertainer, but obviously this guy who, I mean, Biggie and I mean, everything. Just look at the acts that he has worked with over the years. He has had a incredible career. He is every bit of a mogul, but there is this ugly side to him that we have now seen. And forget even the freak off parties, just what we watched with the video in the hallway with Cassie and him brutalizing her. I mean, that's horrible. And I think it's going to be hard for people to get that out of their minds. And I don't think it'll ever be the same for him again. But I don't think he's going to be a pariah when he ultimately gets out. I think there will be people that are happy to work with Diddy, if for nothing else, that they feel like he can still be helpful to their careers. So I think I don't think he's going to be somebody that's completely shunned whenever he does get out, but I don't think it's ever going to be the same for him. I think those days are probably long gone.
You're right, because in some cases it actually elevates people's status and sometimes their income too. Well, Michael, anything else before we let you go? Any final words on before Diddy is actually sentenced?
I mean, this is his day of reckoning. I mean, this has been going on for almost 2 years now when you consider the investigation. And he's arrested in September of 2024. And I would think sometime within the next 2 hours or so, we are going to find out Diddy's fate and what does the rest of his life look like. He could potentially serve 20 years. We don't think that's going to happen, but 20 years is on the line. So you can only imagine the feeling that he must have right now as he awaits his fate.
Yeah. And what will happen next? We'll all be watching. Michael Babcock from TMZ. It's always fun to chat with you, no matter how serious the topic. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. We'll talk soon. Bye. Enjoy the rest of your day.